जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय गोपी जन्ना वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जय गोपी जन्ना वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन व्रजजनरंजन। यशोदानंदन व्रजजनरंजन। यशोदानंदन व्रजजनरंजन। यमुना तीरावनचारी। यमुना तीरावनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन व्रजजनरंजन। यमुना तीरावनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. जय कृष्ण रुक्मिणी जय सत्यभामा कृष्ण रुक्मिणी जय सत्यभामा जय कृष्ण बलराम जय कृष्ण बलराम कृष्ण बलराम जय कृष्ण बलराम जय निताय गौरंग जय निताय गौरंग निताय गौरंग जय निताय गौरंग जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शतश्री श्रीमद His Divine Grace Avai Charanaravindha Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Grantaraj Srimad-Bhagavatam ki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके Bhaktir-bhavati naistiki. Reading from Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto number 1, Chapter number 5, Narada's instructions on Srimad-Bhagavatam, text number 37. Om Namo Bhagavate Tobhyam Vasudevaya Dhimahi Pradyumnaya Aniruddhaya Namaha Sankarshanaya Cha Om Namo Bhagavate Tubhyam Vasudevaya Dhimahi Pradyumnaya Aniruddhaya Namas Sankarshanaya Cha Om Namo Bhagavate Tubhyam Vasudevaya Dhimahi Pradyumnaya Niruddhaya Namas Sankarshanaya Cha Bhagavate Tubhyam Vasudevaya Dhimahi Pradyumnaya Niruddhaya Namo Sankarshanaya Cha Om Namo Bhagavate Tubhyam Vasudevaya Dhimahi Pradyumnaya Niruddhaya Namas Sankarshanaya Cha Om Namo Bhagavate Tubhyam Vasudevaya Dhimahi Pradyumnaya Niruddhaya Namas Sankarshanaya Cha. Word to word meaning. Om, the sign of chanting the transcendental glory of the Lord. Namaha, offering obeisances unto the Lord. Bhagavate, unto the personality of Godhead. Tubhyam, unto you. Vasudevaya, unto the Lord, the son of Vasudeva. Dhimahi, let us chant. Pradyumnaya, Pradyumnaya, Aniruddhaya and Sankarshanaya. All plenary expansions of Vasudeva. Namaha, respectful obeisances. Cha, and. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Let us all chant the glories of Vasudeva along with his plenary expansions, Pradyumna, Aniruddha and Sankarshana. Kindly repeat this translation. Let us all chant the glories of Vasudeva along with his plenary expansions, Pradyumna, Aniruddha and Sankarshana. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. According to Pancharatra, Narayana is the primeval cause of all expansions of Godhead. These are Vasudeva, Sankarshana, Pradyumna and Aniruddha. Vasudeva and Sankarshana are on the middle, left and right. Pradyumna is on the right of Sankarshana and Aniruddha is on the left of Vasudeva. And thus the four deities are situated. They are known as the four aides de camp of Lord Sri Krishna. This is a Vedic hymn or mantra beginning with Omkara Pranava, and thus the mantra is established by the transcendental chanting process, namely Om, Namo, Dhimahi, etc. The purport is that any transaction, either in the field of fruity work or in empiric philosophy, which is not ultimately aimed at transcendental realization of the Supreme Lord, is considered to be useless. Naradaji has therefore explained the nature of unalloyed devotional service by his personal experience in the development of intimacy between the Lord and the living entity by a gradual process of progressive devotional activities. Such a progressive march of transcendental devotion for the Lord culminates in the attainment of loving service of the Lord, which is called prema, in different transcendental variegatedness called rasas or tastes. Such devotional service is also executed in mixed forms, namely mixed with fruitive work or empiric philosophical speculations. Now the question which was raised by the great rishis, headed by Shaunaka, regarding the confidential part of Suta's achievement through the spiritual master is explained herein by the chanting of this hymn, consisting of 33 letters. And this mantra is addressed to the four deities, or the Lord with his plenary expansions. The central figure is Lord Sri Krishna because the plenary portions are his aides de camp. The most confidential part of the instruction is that one should always chant and remember the glories of the Lord Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, along with his different plenary portions, expanded as Vasudeva, Sankarshana, Pradyumna and Aniruddha. These expansions are the original deities for all other truths, namely either Vishnu Tattva or Shakti Tattvas. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnanatimiraandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यादेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So here Narada is instructing Vyasa to chant the glories of Vasudeva along with his plenary expansions Pradyumna, Aniruddha and Sankarshana. And in the purport, Prabhupada is explaining that these expansions of Vasudeva, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, Sankarshana, they are known as the 8D camp of Lord Sri Krishna. So this word 8D camp, I had the experience of understanding this word when we were dealing with some program that we wanted to conduct. So generally when the president or the governor or any head of state has to come, we want to invite him for a function. Then it is not possible to directly go and meet them. So for example, if we want to have this festival and we want to invite the governor or the president to come, typically at least 2 or 3 months before, we have to seek an appointment. And this appointment we cannot seek directly with the governor. We have to write to a person who is called the ADC. So the short form of 8D camp is ADC. So you go to all these websites of the president or the governor and there will be list of a few people who are the ADC to governor or ADC to president. So the ADC is the abbreviation of 8D camp. And this position is not given to some ordinary person. He is not like some assistant in some office. This is not an 8D camp. He is of the position of either a major in the army, so which is a very big position, or an IPS officer. So it requires a person of that stature to be the ADC to the governor or the president. So first we have to write a letter to the ADC saying why we need to meet the governor, who we are, what our background is. And then the ADC, he can decide whether these people are really required to meet the governor, whether this request has to be sent to the governor. He can decide whether to accept that or not accept that. Then after that, if he accepts, then we are called on a certain date. And we first go and we have to meet the ADC only when we go there. And before we meet the ADC also, there are so many protocols. Before entering their premises itself, you are thoroughly frisked. They check whether you have been Shri Krishna Rukmini Satyabhama ki, Shri Nitai Gaurang ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. The guards at the gate, they check whether the ADC has confirmed your appointment. Then they call the office and say such and such people are coming, please be ready to receive them. Then when we go near the office, there is a certain place where we have to get down and we have to alight. Then we are frisked. They check what all we have brought. And then they see this can be allowed, this cannot be allowed. And then only they allow us to go inside. And after they make sure that everything is in order, then we are allowed to meet the ADC, not even the governor. Then the ADC tells us your appointment is at such and such time, you can go and meet. and he makes us wait. And then eventually when our time comes for meeting, we are taken inside and we have some discussions with the governor. And during these entire discussions, the ADC is also there. And the governor gives some instructions to this ADC, what has to be done, what should not be done. And then if he accepts our request that he will come for our festival, he again lets it be known to us through the ADC. He will say, okay, I will get back to you. And then later, after a few days, from the AD's office, we get a call, yes, governor has agreed to come at such and such time, such and such date. You please coordinate with such and such people for understanding what all arrangements have to be done. So this is just for getting a confirmation. But the real thing actually starts now. Right from the time of designing the invitation to planning from where the governor will come, how he will climb onto the stage, where he will be seated, how many chairs have to be kept on the stage, who are all the people who will be sitting on the stage, what is the background of all those people who are going to sit on the stage, how many people will come for attendance, what has to be kept in front of the governor, and many such other details. All these details are overseen by this ADC. But this ADC is never in the picture. You only meet him when you want to ask for the appointment. And after that, he tells you, please coordinate with this person. And so many of his sub-staff. With them, we have to keep interacting in terms of how to design the invitation, what color should be there, how the name should come, in which sequence it has to come. All these things are decided by or not decided, are discussed with all the sub-staff of this ADC. And after everything is decided, then on the day of the event, what happens? Right from morning, if the event is at evening 5:30, one big battalion of people from the governor's office comes. ADC does not come. Big battalion. Some people from his PRO's office, some people from his security. These people come and they see what all arrangements are being made. And they ensure that whatever they have told us, it has to be like that only. Any small change also we have to make, they become very, very firm on us. No, this is not allowed, this is not allowed, this is not allowed. But if we are somehow able to convince the ADC, can we make this change, and the ADC permits, then it can happen. So on that day, finally, the event is about to happen, and the governor comes. When he comes, he is accompanied by this ADC. He is always with the governor. And when he comes, he is simply seated behind the governor. And from there, he is giving directions to all his sub-staff, what has to happen, what has to not happen, why that is not in order. And these people, they will keep troubling us. This is not in order, you change this, you shift that, you shift this, you shift that. So, this is the position of the ADC, AD camp. So, what is this ADC actually doing? He is ensuring that everything is happening according to how the governor wants it to be. So, he is the most confidential associate of the governor in all his affairs of dealing with this world. If we disobey the ADC, it is as good as disobeying the governor. If whatever the ADC says or his sub-staff says, we do not carry out those instructions, then what happens? Then the function will never go on, the governor will never come. This will never happen. So, this ADC is the most confidential associate of the governor. This is the position of the 8D camp. And there are so many other people also under him. Now, many times if people do not understand this hierarchy, suppose some function is happening, and some volunteers are there who are coordinating. They do not understand this entire background. Governor is there, ADC is there, and on their behalf so many people have come. Then what we might try to do, if we try to conduct the function in our own way, we will try to think, oh, all these people have come for coordinating the event here. Let me try to convince them and do whatever I want to do. Will it work? It will not work. So, in the same way, just as so many servants of these 8D camps or subordinates come, and actually you see they are only trying to execute all the events, but they are all acting under the order of the ADC, who in turn is doing all this for the pleasure of the governor. Same way, the entire Vedic literature is filled with so many personalities. There is a Lord, there are these plenary expansions, there are so many of his energies, devatas. But what are most people doing? They are enamored by the external energy of the Lord, which is all the devatas. And they are thinking simply you try to satisfy all these devatas and you can be happy, your work will be done. But this is not the most confidential knowledge. The most confidential knowledge is to understand the Lord and the Lord's plenary expansions. The Lord and the Lord's plenary expansions. The plenary expansions are also the expansions of the Lord himself, but they are working for the pleasure of the Lord. That is why Prabhupada is saying here that the expansions are the original deities for all other truths, namely either Vishnu Tattva or the Shakti Tattva. So Vasudeva, Shankarshana, Pradyumna and Aniruddha, from them all the other truths emanate. So this entire material world, the entire spiritual world, for what purpose is it existing? Just like the plenary expansion, the 8D camp and all his subordinates, for what purpose are they working? They are working for the satisfaction of the governor. That everything should happen so that the governor is completely satisfied. That is why everything is so much in harmony, everything is so well coordinated. Same way, all this entire material world, this entire arrangement by the Lord, where he is there, but he's expanded himself into so many plenary expansions, who in turn are directing the affairs of this material world through the so many devatas. What is the purpose of all this? The purpose of all this is the ultimate satisfaction of Krishna. That's why in Chaitanya Charitamrita it is said, Akela Ishvara Krishna Arasabha Bhritya. Krishna is the only master, and everybody, including his plenary expansions, the devatas, they are all servants. Plenary expansions are also expansions of Krishna. Vasudeva, Sankarshana, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, they are all Vishnu Tattva himself. And they are, in terms of potency, in terms of strength, they have all the powers that are vested with Krishna also. Just like the ADC, he is carrying out all the duties. He's got all powers as the governor. But his duty is to serve the governor. So, these plenary expansions, they are there for the pleasure of Krishna, and all the devatas are also working for the pleasure of Krishna. Like Durga Devi, Shrishti Sthiti Pralaya Sadhana Shakti Reka Chaye Vayasya Bhuvanani Bibharti Durga Ichhanurupam api yasya cha cheshtate sa. They are working as per the desire of Krishna. So all these subordinates of the ADC, they cannot decide on their own how the chair has to be arranged, how the chairs have to be kept, how the crowd should be seated, from where the governor will come. They have no independence to decide that. They have to do it as per the instruction given by the 8D camp, by the ADC. So similarly, all the devatas, including Durga Devi, Ichhanurupam abhiyascha cheshtate sa. They independently cannot decide how this material world has to function. They have to do it under the instruction of Krishna and Krishna's plenary portions only. Because as in Chaitanya Charitamrita it is said, Akela Ishwara Krishna Arasabha Bhrithya, Yara Yaiche Nachaya, Se Taiche Kare Nritya. The way Krishna wants everyone to dance, they all dance. So the spiritual world, the material world, everything is orchestrated as per the desire of Krishna. But in the material world, we don't want to dance as per Krishna's desire. But still, whatever we want to do is under the control of Krishna's subordinates, who are the devatas. But in the spiritual world, what is the difference between the spiritual world and the material world is that in the spiritual world, everything is perfectly orchestrated. Just like when the governor comes, everything is perfectly orchestrated. What time governor will come, where he will get down, where is the red carpet, how he will climb onto the steps, where he will seat, who will be seated beside him, who is going to garland him, who is going to speak, when, what, how much time each person has to speak, how much time governor will speak, after that how the governor will leave, who has to send him off. Everything is orchestrated. And everybody has to act according to their role. That is why in the Brahma Samhita it is described that every step in the spiritual world is a dance. Every word is a song. Why? Everything is orchestrated. Katha Ganam Natyam. Correct? So, because the meaning of that is, everybody who is there in the spiritual world, he is completely in harmony with Krishna's desires. They know what Krishna wants. And only when one is spiritually mature in that understanding, he is allowed to enter into the spiritual world. Just like if somebody is not willing to obey the instructions of the ADC, will he be made part of the governor's staff? He cannot be made part of the governor's staff. Because governor is coming means everything has to be pakka. The ADC will not allow somebody who is disobedient to be part of the governor's staff. You be somewhere else. You cannot be part of the governor's staff. Because everything has to happen as per the governor's desire. So, more position, more power is given to those people who are more and more obedient, who are more and more understanding of what is Krishna's plan for this world. Of course, Krishna is not personally dealing with this material world, but his plenary expansions are dealing. Krishna is only enjoying, and the plenary expansions are facilitating this enjoyment of Krishna. They don't want to disturb Krishna with what is happening in this material world. Just like the ADC is not wanting to disturb the governor with every little detail of how this program and all is being managed. Governor will come, he will have a nice time, and he will go away. Same way Krishna, he's only enjoying, nothing else he's doing, he's simply enjoying. And his enjoyment is facilitated by his aides de camp. So, Prabhupada is saying in the purport that this is the most confidential part of Suta's achievement through the spiritual master, which is explained herein by the chanting of this hymn, consisting of 33 letters. And again, Prabhupada is explaining in connection with Narada that Narada has therefore experienced the nature of unalloyed devotional service by his personal experience and the development of intimacy between the Lord and the living entity by a gradual process of progressive devotional service. Such a progressive march of transcendental devotion for the Lord culminates in the attainment of loving service of the Lord, which is called prema, in different transcendental variegatedness called rasas. Such devotional service is also executed in mixed forms, namely mixed with fruitive work or empiric philosophical speculations. So, to come to this state of being completely in harmony with the Lord means one has to come to the state of prema, where he has no other interest. Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karma anavritam. One has to come to the stage of prema where one's activities are completely in harmony with the Lord's interest. And how this has happened is explained by Narada's journey himself. So to come to this platform where one can go to the spiritual world, where every step is a dance and every word is a song, is possible if one follows the path followed by Narada himself. And what is the path followed by Narada, which these things we had read in the previous verses. So if you look at Narada's journey, this begins in verse number 27, Narada is speaking of his journey that, not 27, from verse number 23. So let us see how Narada's journey is towards the path of prema. He says, O Muni, in the last millennium, I was born as the son of a certain maidservant, engaged in the service of Brahmanas, who were following the principles of Vedanta. When they were living together during the 4 months of the rainy season, I was engaged in their personal service. So what is Narada's background? He's the son of a maidservant. So basically, he's got no Brahminical qualification. But what has happened? He has come in the association of certain Brahmanas who are following the principles of Vedanta. So he has come in their association. And what did he do? For 4 months of the rainy season, he was engaged in their personal service. So a person who's born of a Shudra, who's got no qualifications, he is coming in association with some people who are following the principles of Vedanta. And then what is he doing? He's engaging in their service. Then, although they were impartial by nature, those followers of the Vedanta blessed me with their causeless mercy. So they blessed him with his causeless mercy. And as far as I was concerned, so here Narada is talking about how he was when he was performing this service to them. He said, I was self-controlled. And I had no attachment for sports, even though I was a boy. In addition, I was not naughty and I did not speak more than required. So Narada was self-controlled, he did not speak more than required, he was not engaging himself in unnecessary activities. This is how he was serving the Bhakti Vedantas. And only once by their permission I took the remnants of their food, and by doing so all my sins were at once eradicated. Thus being engaged, I became purified at heart, and at that time the very nature of the transcendentalist became very attractive to me. So at the time he was serving them in this controlled manner, he also got the opportunity to take prasadam. And then he became purified, and what happened? He developed attraction to become a transcendentalist. In that association, by the mercy of those great Vedantists, I could hear them describe the attractive activities of Lord Krishna, and thus listening attentively, my taste for hearing of the personality of Godhead increased at every step. So repeatedly hearing, what happened? The taste has started increasing. And as soon as I got a taste for the personality of Godhead, my attention to hear of the Lord was unflinching. And as my taste developed, I could realize that it was only in my ignorance that I accepted gross and subtle coverings. So, this description of how Narada is progressing from being a mere son of a maidservant to the platform of prema. He's coming to the platform of developing love for Krishna is explained in these verses. And this is what Prabhupada is explaining in this purport. So here if you look at Narada, the way he is performing devotional service is basically the two aspects of the 9 steps of devotional service, which is, it is beginning with sadhu sangha and then bhajana kriya. So sadhu sangha, he is associating with the Bhakti Vedantas and he is performing bhajana kriya. How he is performing bhajana kriya? He is performing by controlling his senses, by being very submissive and executing their instructions. Correct? And he is not speaking more than required. So these are the principles which are being given by our acharyas also. How we have to perform devotional service. Rupa Goswami says, Vacho vegam, manasa krodha vegam, jihva vegam, mudaro pasta vegam. So, bhajana kriya also has to be performed in a regulated manner. So, when we are performing devotional service, if we also want to progress to the path of prema, then the most important thing is to imbibe these regulations when we are performing our devotional service. So many people feel that what is there, simply you just have to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And Prabhupada also said, simply chant, simply dance, simply take prasadam, and that's all, you can become Krishna conscious. But the most difficult thing is, we are not able to do it simply. Correct? To do it simply is the most difficult thing. Because Prabhupada also says that ultimately, who is the topmost Vedantist? In the purport to Bhagavad Gita, one of the verse Prabhupada says, who is the topmost Vedantist? The topmost Vedantist is the person who takes pleasure in the chanting of the holy names. Correct? He says in the purport to Bhagavad Gita, the topmost Vedantist, that is Vedas, you read everything and you understand who is Devata, who is plenary expansion, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A person who has understood all this, what is his symptom? He is taking pleasure in chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And the same thing Prabhupada is also saying here in the conclusion, that now the question which was raised by the great rishis headed by Shaunaka regarding the confidential part of Suta's achievement through the spiritual master is explained herein by chanting of this hymn consisting of 33 letters. So the most confidential instruction was chanting of these 33 letters. What is these 33 letters? Om Namo Bhagavate Tubhyam Vasudevaya Dhimahi Pradyumnaya Niruddhaya Nama Sankarshanaya Cha. And what are these names? These names Prabhupada is saying, these names of Vasudeva, Sankarshana, Pradyumna and Aniruddha, they are the original deities for all other truths, namely either Vishnu Tattva or Shakti Tattva. So our chanting of Hare Krishna mantra is also what? It is a prayer to the Lord, it is a prayer to the Lord's expansion, and it is the prayer to the Lord's energies. So it includes the Vishnu Tattvas and the Shakti Tattvas. So the highest Vedantist is a person who has understood this, that all the Shakti Tattvas, Vishnu Tattvas are there in Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So the highest Vedantist, Prabhupada is saying, is the person who is taking pleasure in chanting the holy names of the Lord. So who can take pleasure? What is the symptom of a person who is taking pleasure in chanting the holy names of the Lord? Someone who is always able to chant, correct? If I'm taking pleasure in something, I should be able to do it always. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. We have to be chanting 24 hours, like the Goswamis were chanting. But who can chant? Who can chant 24 hours? That Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says. Trinadapi Sunichena, Taroriva Sahishnuna, Amanina Manadena, Kirtaniya Sadahari. So only when one is completely free from false ego, when he is completely humble and submissive, Amanina Manadena, he doesn't accept any respect and he is giving respect to everyone, only in that state he can always chant the holy names of the Lord. So that is why so much arrangement is there in the spiritual world. All the arrangement, why everything is so well orchestrated in the spiritual world? Because everybody is Amanina Manadena. They have no self-interest. They are not thinking, I want to do like this, I want to serve like that. No. Everything is perfectly orchestrated. And it is possible to perfectly orchestrate everything in the spiritual world because everybody is free from false ego. Amanina Manadena. Their only interest is Kirtaniya Sadahari. So this bhajana kriya, that is why it is very important. The way Narada performed bhajana kriya, controlling all his senses, keeping aside all his desires, just serving the Bhakti Vedantas the way they wanted them to be served. When he was doing it, what was happening? He was developing taste. He was developing attraction. And then he became qualified. So if we also want to be qualified to go to the spiritual world, where every step is a dance, every word is a song, then we also have to know how we can become part of the Lord's plan. How we can also mold ourselves so that we are able to be part of the Lord's spiritual world. Just imagine, suppose 5-6 dancers are coming. We have Kala Madhuryam every Sunday. What makes the dance very beautiful is not individually some mudras or some expressions. This is one part of it. But what makes the song so beautiful, the dance most beautiful, is how in a very orchestrated manner everybody is dancing so nicely together. Is it not? Let us say 3 dancers come and they have all been trained. Everybody knows all the mudras, alankaras, everything very well. And we start playing the song. One dancer is performing some wonderful mudras. Another dancer is doing something. That is also, if you see the mudra and all, it is very nice. But there is no synchronization, there is no coordination. Will we enjoy that? We will not enjoy. So, this is most important, that we serve the way the Lord wants us to serve them. This is the entire training in Bhajana Kriya. That we learn to serve the way we are expected to serve. Otherwise, how can there be a dance? How can there be a song? There can be so many wonderful words. But until these words are properly arranged and it forms a beautiful composition, the words by themselves are not beautiful. So, that is why our entire philosophy is, we are Amsha of Krishna. Mamai Vamsho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. Amsha means part and parcel. This hand has to do the work of a hand. The work of this hand is to feed the mouth and satisfy the stomach. This hand cannot say, oh, I know how to take food, so let me take food and do something without feeding it to the mouth. Correct? So, this entire training in Bhajana Kriya is a training how we give up all our independent desires and work towards the satisfaction of Krishna. So that is why the Acharyas have given, they are not saying simply you chant Hare Krishna, you can go back to Godhead. They are not just leaving us with that. Because simply we are unable to chant Hare Krishna. Correct? We cannot chant 24 hours Hare Krishna mantra. Why? Because we are not Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Sahishnuna. And because we are not Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Sahishnuna, this process of Bhajana Kriya is very important, where we work under the direction of a bona fide spiritual master and do what is expected out of us. Just like all the sub-staff of the governor, of the ADC, they are simply following the instructions so that ultimately everything is coming out so nicely. So that the governor is completely satisfied with the entire program. So this entire process of devotional service, these gradual steps, sadhu sangha, bhajana kriya, anartha nivritti, nishtha, all these processes are ultimately there to make us become part of that spiritual world, to help us qualify to become part of that spiritual world. So this, Narada is saying, is the most confidential part of the instructions, and he's also demonstrating it by his own life. So it is true that simply by chanting Hare Krishna, simply by taking prasadam, simply by dancing in the kirtan, we can go back to Godhead. But to come to that state, the Goswamis have given so much literature. Philosophically understand who is Krishna, what is the position of Krishna, what are the plenary expansions. Otherwise, the Sahajiyas also, they think simply we can chant Hare Krishna, simply we do something, but there is no philosophical understanding, there is no anartha nivritti, there is no proper conduct on their part. And therefore, simply chanting Hare Krishna becomes very difficult. So all the instructions which the Goswamis have given, so many rules, control your urges of the senses, urges of the mind, and after controlling those urges, engaging in devotional service, the way Narada is also doing, he's controlling his mind, he's controlling his senses, and then he's serving the Bhakti Vedantas. When we do it in that controlled manner, then we become qualified to enter into the spiritual world, where every step is a dance, every word is a song, and then we can associate with Krishna. With this, we'll stop here. Grantaraj Srimad-Bhagavatam ki, Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.